Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom's back, and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Today we return to the series called Tier 5 or Tier 1, where I choose my top 5 favorites and my top 5 least favorites from a certain niche update or certain niche category. So today's episode, I'm going to be telling you what I think are the top 5 best pictures from Italian Renaissance, being Tier 1, and the top 5 worst pictures, being Tier 5 from Italian Renaissance, along with some honorable mentions for Tier 1, but for Tier 5, there aren't going to be any honorable mentions. Now, before I get into the video, I just want to say that Italian Renaissance, when I was looking through the pictures, it was the epitome of meh. It was the meaning of meh. Not a lot of pictures were god-awful, but not a lot of pictures were perfect, like we saw in the first episode of the series with Great Exhibition. Great Exhibition has some really good pictures and some really bad ones, which made it a good requirement to kick off a new series. However, with Italian Renaissance, it was all kind of meh. A lot of the pictures looked kind of the same, the angles were all kind of the same, and I might even put some here on the screen just so you know what I'm talking about, but let's get into it. Let's talk about the Tier 1s and the Tier 5s. So, starting us off in the Tier 5 list, what I think are the worst 5 pictures in the game, and of course I'm going to have clubs playing in the background, so if you're interested to see how I play clubs, those are always my background videos and a bit of events and all that kind of stuff, just in case you were interested to see that kind of content as well. I can't see myself really commentating on clubs, because it'll just be me being super competitive and saying die, die, die. But anyway, I digress. So, moving in on the 5th spot in the Tier 5 list, what I think is the 5th worst picture for Italian Renaissance is this. It is the Lamborghini Diablo from 1990. Now, why I think this is a bottom 5 picture, well, 5th in the bottom 5, is because the Lamborghini Diablo is one of the most exciting cars on the planet. You know, even the name, Diablo, you know, it has those amazing suicide doors and it's so cool. And yet, Hutch decided to put it with the least exciting background and the least exciting picture. You know, it's a stagnant Diablo, the doors aren't even open, and the background is just white, and you don't even see the entire car. Now, this isn't the worst picture by any means. It's not good in any sort of respect, but it's not definitely like horrendous, because at least you can see the front of the car, you can see the hood, and you can see the roof, but you can't see the back. But once again, the main thing that really annoys me about this picture is that the Diablo is such an exciting car, and you kind of just give it such a boring background, and it just gives the car no justice. But moving on to 4th place in the Tier 5 category goes to the Maserati Spider. Now, the Maserati Spider has a lot of bad things. First of all, the wheel design. Now, this has nothing to do with Hutch and their choice of picture, but that has to be one of the most boring wheels I've ever seen, or the most boring rim I've ever seen. It's just like, I've seen like the top of pies that look nicer than that. I've seen the top of bread and cakes and pizza looking better than that. I mean, when I look at the wheel, I think of food immediately. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that also reminds me of a lotus root. If you got a lotus root, which is a root vegetable, you chop it in half and you look at the insides of it, that is what it looks like, and it doesn't look very nice. The other thing I don't like about the picture is you don't even see the front of the picture. The background is just absolutely nothing. It's boring. The car isn't moving, and the most annoying thing is that it's a pretty closed up picture. It's pretty zoomed in, and the least they could do is at least make the picture clear, or, you know, high quality, but it's not high quality at all. The tail lights, they look, you know, really blurred out. Yeah, I can barely read the word spider on the car plate. It's not very clear. It's definitely not very sharp. It's a poor effort for a picture. Moving on to the 3rd spot now, kind of like the Diablo, the Lamborghini Murcielago LP670-4 Super Veloce. Okay, like I said, the Diablo was a super exciting car with a super just boring background. Now times that by 100. Okay, the Murcielago is so exciting, and I think it's one of the nicest looking Lamborghinis of all time. I love the overall shape of the Murcielago, right? Especially for the Super Veloce or the SV. The front is so beautiful. I don't know, when I look at the front of a Super Veloce, it reminds me of looking at the front of a Camaro ZL11LE, in a sense that it's so mean. It looks like it wants to eat you, but like in a good way. It wants to eat you, but you want it to eat you. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's just that's the first thing, right? It's such an exciting car. It has such a boring background, which does it a disjustice. But the second thing is, what makes it worse than the Diablo is that the placement and the crop is even worse. It's even zoomed in even more. You can't even see the full back. I mean, you can see like 90% of it, but a part of it is cropped out by the S, and you can't see the front. You can't even see the front wheels. That's how bad it is. And the next thing that makes me really annoyed is that this picture is way too shiny. I don't know if it's just me, but it's way too shiny. Like, the literal window, going into the front of the car is literally just white. It's not even clear, it's just straight up white. I don't like it, it's way too shiny, and the picture itself isn't even that clear. Once again, it's not very sharp. If you want to focus in on the wheels or the rims, it could be better. It could be better. I mean, you compare this to some really good quality pictures in the game, like the Lotus 340R, or the Viper ACR, or some of the Tier 1 Italian Renaissance cars we're going to see later. You're going to see exactly what I mean. But now let's move on to the second spot. Now, the second worst picture in the game is the Lamborghini Espada Serie 3. Now, from the first episode, the second picture in Tier 2, or the second worst image for a Great Exhibition, shares a lot in common with the second worst image here in Italian Renaissance. Once again, all I'm seeing here is literally a door. They might as well call this the Lamborghini door. It's gray, it's boring, you can't see the front, you can't see the back. At least it's not a white background, but you can't even see the car, man. Like, if you showed me this picture, and it even looks like a hatchback, if you showed me this picture, I would have no idea that this is a Lamborghini. I would just look at this and be like, is this a Renault or something like that? Like, there's no way in this picture does it tell you that this was a Lamborghini. It doesn't even look like a Harama, at least, or what is the other name? I can't remember, putting on the spot here. The other classic, not the Miura, but the one that starts with like a U or something. But yeah, it just doesn't remind me of a Bugatti. I mean, I guess the overall design of the car isn't really Lamborghini-esque, but still, they could have done so much better with this picture. But anyway, let's move on to number one, what I think is the worst picture in Italian Renaissance. Now, once again, guys, have a guess. What do you think it's gonna be? And let me know down in the comments below what your bottom 5 and your top 5 are. I want to know what your opinions are. But what I think is the worst picture for Italian Renaissance is this: the Lancia Delta HF Integrale Evolution. This is a car that, if anyone thinks of a rally Lancia Delta, everyone would think of it in action. There's so many pictures of this car in action, so many pictures of it jumping, or on a rally stage, or I guess oversteering with a bunch of dirt in the background. Not really oversteering, it's 4-wheel drive, but you know what I mean. Like, a lot of action pics on the Lancia Delta HF. It's a car with so much history, and it's a car that has so much meaning, and you decide to do this, Hutch. You decide not to even show the front or the back, a side profile. And what is that background? It's not a white background, it's a white and green background, and that is the ugliest shade of green I have ever seen, and it does not go well. The green and the yellowish gold in the legendary is a disgusting combination of colors. It reminds me of puke, okay? And like the green and the martini livery and the white, it does not go well with each other. I mean, honestly, dare I say it, considering that this isn't a black and white image and you can see that beautiful martini livery, it would have been nicer if the background was actually just white instead of green and white. I'm not joking. The green and the martini livery, it doesn't go well together. At least white and the martini livery, in terms of color palette, it's a little more, what can I say, smoothing to the eye. But this green really pulls it off for me. The car is already on a horrible angle, but that green is really what makes this the worst goddamn picture for Italian Renaissance. But with that said, the bad news and the bad pictures are out of the way. Let's go into our tier 1s. So for our tier 1s, we're going to start off with some 3 honorable mentions. The first one is going to be the Maserati Coupe Grand Sport. I think the only thing that could have made this picture better if they zoomed it out a bit more so I could see the whole car, because once again, the back, the rear tires and a bit of the front end is cut off by the stats and the Ultra Rare B. But besides that, it's a great picture. I even love the window. It looks like it's tinted blue. I mean, obviously it's probably not tinted blue, but it looks like it's tinted blue, and that goes really well with the red in the color of the Maserati Grand Sport, which also goes well with the red in the Ultra Rare. So what I think is that this picture is really uniformed. The action and the movement of the car is really cool, and all around, it's a really good picture. The next honorable mention is the Maserati Shamal. Much like the car before, once again, the only problem is that, it'd be better if the picture zoomed out a little bit more, but I have to say that lens flare is really what makes it cool. If the lens flare wasn't there, I wouldn't put it in my honorable mentions. The lens flare is cool. And once again, black and red is a combination that you can never go wrong with. The background is not too bad, right? It's not a white background. At least there's some texture to it in the bricks. It's not the clearest of images either, so that's another downfall along with the crop. But besides that, the lens flare is so cool. And the red once again goes with the red in the Ultra Rare, and red and black goes really well together, and it just looks like a really cool car. Too bad the stats doesn't really justify it. And talking about stats not justifying the car itself, the last honorable mention is the Lamborghini Gallardo LP550-2 Valentino Balboni. I love the angle of this car. It kind of reminds me of an opening sequence to like a police show, like a bad boy cop film or a buddy cop like TV sequel series. Like this picture of the Valentino Balboni looks like it's being shot from a helicopter in a police chase, and this is like the bad boy's car, and he's just like running away, or the antagonist's car, not the bad boys, the antagonist's car. And I think it's just really cool. It's like it's zooming in, is like, oh, we're closing in on the target. We're gonna take it out. I don't know, orbital strike the hell out of the Gallardo. I don't know, but either way, it's cool. I like the angle. I even like the motion blur. The motion blur makes it really cool, and it actually looks like a pretty high quality image, all things considered. The only thing that would make it better is, once again, if you zoomed it out a little bit more. But this is a really good picture. That being said, it's a really crap car in the game. Anyway, moving on to our literal top 5. The top 5 pictures I think are the best pictures in the Italian Renaissance. Coming in 5th place is the Lancia Aprilia Sport Zagato. Now, I can barely find any faults in this car. The only fault that I could see in this car is probably just F, the common, because the gray in the F is just boring. But besides that, it's a really good picture. It's colored. The red, or I guess the maroon in the Lancia, and the green in the trees, they work really well together. It reminds me of Christmas almost. The crop is perfect. You can see the entire car. I love the angle. It's low. The car's in motion, and all around it's a really solid picture. I really, really love it, and honestly, I would max it out and keep it in my garage. Although it wouldn't help me in the game at all, I would keep it just because of that picture. It's really cool. I don't have it yet, but now that I've said it, I think I shouldn't I? Anyway, moving on to 4th spot is my favorite uncommon picture in the entire game. Now, that's really high praise, and that goes to the Maserati Indy. I love this picture. I genuinely love it. It just has a whole super retro vibe to it, and I think it's so cool. I love the angle. I love how the tires are just angled a little bit more, and I love the color. The red and the black once again works really well together. There's a little bit of white in the image as well, and the background really fits the car itself. It's that red black kind of just artistic feeling. It's not a white background. I guess you can argue it's a red background, but that's what makes it different. There's so many white backgrounds out there and they're completely boring, but this is a red background. And not only it is a red background, it's a red and black background that is the same color as the car itself. It's like, what not Dave Filoni, George Lucas, what did he say? It's like poetry, right? Everything needs to rhyme with each other. And in this picture, everything does rhyme with each other. The only thing that could make it better, I would think, if this car was an Ultra Rare, and that E in the green would turn to the red in the Ultra Rare, and then that would be just perfectly uniformed. But I do love this picture very much. It's my favorite picture in the entire game for the uncommon rarities, and I think it's a very beautiful car as well. Anyway, moving on to 3rd place is the Lamborghini LM002. This thing is cool, man. Not only that the car is cool, right? The crop is almost perfect. I love how it's like, it it looks like it's drifting. It's definitely not, but it does look like it's about to drift. It reminds me of that one scene in Disney Pixar Cars when McQueen finds Doc Hudson racing on, I think it's Ornament Valley, I think that's what it's called, and this is the first time he finds out that Doc is able to race, and when Doc drifts on the dirt, the way that the camera pans it out in the scene is almost the exact same angle as the picture in the Lamborghini LM002. That is the exact reason why I love this picture so much. It reminds me of Doc Hudson, but on top of that, it's just a really cool picture, right? It's an LM002. It is the Lambo. You can see almost the entire car, which is impressive because when it comes to Hutch and when it comes to pictures, sometimes they make like, I don't know, a Volkswagen or a Fiat like 500 look massive because they zoom in so much, but for a car that's actually massive like the LM002, they actually make it look pretty nicely sized with how it's cropped out. You can see the entire thing. It's really cool. So that is my third place pick. So moving on to second now is the Lamborghini Gallardo LP 550-2 second generation. 2 words: the snow. Like, give me a snow picture and like I'm already almost automatically going to love it. It's beautiful. I love how it's just like driving in the snow at what looks like a really high speed. The blue in the Gallardo works so well with the purple in the Epic, and just the entire color palette here. Just look at it. It's blue, purple, and white. Those 3 colors go so well together. It's so calming to the eyes, and the most important thing is the snow. I love the snow. There is something different with the snow and a white background. I know some people might disagree, but when it comes to the white background, usually there's some kind of gradient with a little bit of gray, and that's really boring. Sometimes there isn't any gradient at all, but a white background has no texture and it's really flat, and you can tell it's a white background. Here for the snow, you can see that there is a little bit of texture at the bottom of the picture, and what really gives it away is the kind of like that snow smoke coming off the front tires. That's really what kind of brings it all together for me. This is an amazing picture, and it's my number 2 pick. But now moving on to number 1, what I think is the best picture from Italian Renaissance. Let me know if you got it right, if you're guessing, and let me know what your number 1 is. But for me, it is the Lamborghini Veneno. This is a high quality picture, high quality image, beautiful color, goes so well with the legendary S. The angle is amazing, and I love the background. It looks like there's gonna be a thunderstorm, and just the car in motion. It's a beautiful picture. They did this car so much justice, man. They did the car so much justice. This one is absolutely amazing. When I look at this picture, it reminds me of 2 other cars in the game, which have similar motions and similar backgrounds. The first one is the Koenigsegg 1.1, and the other one is the Dodge Viper ACR, which are 2 cars that I hold highly in regard in terms of pictures. The ACR bonus points because it's an ACR, and I love the ACR, and it's a Dodge. But that being said, if I'm judging off pictures alone, those are some elite pictures, okay? So the Lamborghini Veneno, congratulations. You are the winner in my eyes, in my opinion, for what are the best pictures in the Italian Renaissance. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. That is my tier 1 and my tier 5, my top 5 and my bottom 5 for pictures in the Italian Renaissance. Let me know if you agree with me or you don't, and let me know with what your lists are in the comment below. But with that said, I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, blossom out.